James had built his life from nothing. Born into poverty, he knew what hunger felt like, what cold winters without heat did to a body, what it meant to wear the same pair of shoes until the soles nearly disintegrated. Every success he achieved, every dollar he earned, was a product of his relentless hard work. He had climbed from a dirt-poor childhood to becoming a respected entrepreneur with a thriving business. And yet all it took was one woman, Lisa, to bring it all crashing down. He met Lisa when she walked into his high-end furniture store, admiring the elegant designs with eyes full of wonder. She was charming, delicate in her mannerisms, and had a way of making him feel like the most important man in the world. James had never been the type to fall fast, but Lisa, she made him believe in love. It wasn't long before they moved in together, her presence turning his cold, modern apartment into a warm home. For the first time in his life, he felt secure, not just financially, but emotionally. He showered her with everything she desired: expensive jewelry, designer clothes, spontaneous trips to Paris. People warned him, whispered that Lisa's love might not be as pure as he believed, but James ignored them. He thought they were just jealous. He had finally found happiness, and he refused to let cynics ruin it. Then one evening, he walked into his home and felt something was off. The apartment was eerily silent, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. A sinking feeling gripped his chest as he called out for Lisa. No answer. He moved through the rooms, each step slower than the last, his heart beat loud in his ears. And then he saw it. His safe was open, completely empty. His watches, his emergency cash, the valuable documents, gone. His art collection, stripped from the walls. His bank accounts, drained. The credit cards he had given Lisa, maxed out. Lisa had vanished, taking every last bit of his wealth with her. James sank to the floor, his mind struggling to comprehend the depth of the betrayal. He had trusted her with everything, given her his world, and she had repaid him by leaving him with nothing but shattered illusions. And then, like a final, cruel joke, he found a note on the dining table. "You were too easy, James. Thanks for the good life. It's been fun." Rage and devastation warred inside him. The woman he had loved, the woman he had imagined a future with, had played him like a fool. But what Lisa didn't know, what she would soon regret, was that James was not the kind of man who would just sit back and accept defeat. He was going to make her pay. The days that followed were a blur of humiliation and fury. James had spent his entire life pulling himself out of nothing, and now in the blink of an eye, he was right back where he started. Broke, alone, and betrayed. His so-called friends disappeared the moment they realized he was no longer the wealthy businessman they once envied. His business, already struggling due to financial mismanagement he hadn't noticed under Lisa's influence, crumbled. The worst part? No one could find her. She had planned everything meticulously, leaving no digital trace behind. The bank told him the withdrawals had been made legally. After all, he had foolishly added her to his accounts. The police? Useless. They saw it as a domestic dispute, not a crime. Lisa had covered her tracks well, and James was left to pick up the pieces of his shattered life alone. But what Lisa underestimated was the fire inside him. She had broken him, yes, but he had built himself up from nothing once before. He could do it again. He spent weeks analyzing every move she had made, every detail she had ever let slip about her past. Through contacts, old acquaintances, and sheer determination, he found a thread to pull. A former associate of hers, a con artist named Vincent, who had once been Lisa's partner in crime before she betrayed him too. Vincent laughed when James found him. "So she got you too, huh?" he said, swirling whiskey in his glass. "That woman is a viper." James clenched his fists. "I don't care what she is. I just want her to pay." Vincent smirked. "Now that's a conversation I'd love to have." And just like that, a deal was struck. Vincent wanted revenge just as much as James did, and together they devised a plan, one that would leave Lisa regretting the day she ever crossed them. Lisa thought she was untouchable, but she had made a mistake. She had taught James how a con artist operates, and now he was about to beat her at her own game. Lisa had vanished into thin air, but James and Vincent knew exactly where to start looking. She wasn't the type to lay low for long. A woman like her thrived on attention, luxury, and control. It was only a matter of time before she resurfaced, flaunting her stolen wealth under a new name. Vincent had connections in the underground world. People who knew people, the kind of men Lisa would eventually cross paths with in her hunt for power and status. And sure enough, after weeks of searching, they found her in Miami, living under the alias Victoria Hayes. She had reinvented herself, surrounded by rich businessmen, conning her way into the life of yet another wealthy target. But this time, she had no idea that her past was about to come crashing down. James watched from a distance as Lisa laughed at an upscale rooftop bar, draped in expensive jewelry. His jewelry. His blood boiled, but he forced himself to stay calm. He wasn't here to make a scene. He was here to destroy her the way she had destroyed him. Vincent had already set the trap. Through his network, he had arranged for Lisa to meet a wealthy investor named Daniel Morgan, an alias James would take on. The plan was simple: lure her into believing she had found her next big target, let her think she was in control, and then rip everything away from her. The first meeting was arranged at a high-end restaurant. James, now Daniel, played the part flawlessly, charming, powerful, and slightly naive, just the way Lisa liked them. She was drawn to him instantly, her predatory instincts taking over as she worked her usual magic. "You have an interesting energy," she purred, sipping her wine, "like someone who's used to getting what he wants." James smirked, masking his rage with effortless confidence. "And I always do." Lisa had no idea that this time, she wasn't hunting, she was being hunted. Lisa thought she had found her next victim. James played his role so well that she was convinced he was just another rich fool, eager to be manipulated. He showered her with expensive gifts, jewelry, designer bags, a luxury watch. But what Lisa didn't know was that every single item was carefully chosen. Each one was traceable, each one planted with hidden trackers and cameras, slowly weaving a web that she wouldn't escape from. As the days passed, Lisa became comfortable, believing she had completely ensnared Daniel Morgan. She spoke of her past in carefully curated lies, painting herself as a woman who had survived heartbreak, betrayal, and hardship. James listened to every word, silently seething at the irony of it all. One evening, as they sat in a private lounge, sipping on champagne, Lisa leaned in closer. "You know, Daniel, I feel safe with you." James almost laughed at the absurdity of her words. Instead, he took her hand and gazed into her eyes, playing the part of a smitten, gullible millionaire. "And you should. I take care of the people I love." Lisa's eyes gleamed with satisfaction. She had no idea she was walking straight into her own downfall. That night, Vincent made his move. Using the tracking devices James had planted, he infiltrated Lisa's lavish condo while she was out. He found stacks of cash, fake IDs, passports with different names, and countless pieces of stolen jewelry, including items that once belonged to James. Vincent took pictures of everything, ensuring they had undeniable proof of Lisa's crimes. But James wasn't interested in simply taking back what was his. He wanted her to suffer the way he had, and so the final part of their plan was set into motion. Lisa woke up the next morning to chaos. The police were at her door. Reporters had flooded the lobby. Her face was plastered all over the news. Notorious scammer exposed. The woman who stole millions from wealthy men. Every lie she had ever told, every crime she had ever committed, was now public knowledge. She tried to call Daniel, her supposed ticket to another fortune, but the number was disconnected. Panicked, she rushed to grab her passports and cash, only to find them gone. Every exit had been sealed, every escape route destroyed. And then, as she turned on the TV, she saw the final blow. A live broadcast of an interview featuring James Whitmore, the man she had once betrayed. "People like Lisa think they can take everything and walk away," he said, his voice steady and cold. "But karma never forgets, and neither do I." Lisa's hands trembled as she tried to turn off the television, but her body refused to cooperate. Her face was everywhere. News channels, social media, even financial crime forums. Every detail of her scams had been laid bare, from her past victims to her most recent betrayal of James Whitmore. She bolted toward her safe, the last place she hoped to find something that could help her escape. But as soon as she punched in the code, an error message flashed. Access denied. A sinking feeling twisted in her stomach. She tried again. Nothing. And then she saw it. A small note stuck to the back of the safe's door. I learned from the best. DM Daniel Morgan, her so-called perfect target, the rich, clueless millionaire. Except now she knew the truth. He had played her. Lisa screamed in rage, knocking over everything in her path. Her designer bags, the jewelry boxes, the few remaining cash bundles. None of it mattered anymore. She was trapped. Her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Check your bank accounts. Heart pounding, she opened her banking app. Zero. Every single account wiped clean. Tears welled in her eyes as she scrolled through the transactions. Every withdrawal had been made within the last 24 hours. The only thing left was a final mocking transfer. $1, courtesy of karma. Her legs gave out, and she collapsed onto the cold marble floor. She had spent her entire life scamming men, stealing their fortunes, and walking away without looking back. But now, she was the one who had lost everything. A knock at the door sent chills down her spine. She didn't need to answer to know who it was. The authorities. Lisa grabbed her purse, her last shred of hope resting in a fake ID and whatever was left in her hidden pockets. She ran to the back entrance thinking she could still escape. But as soon as she opened the door, she froze. James Whitmore stood there, arms crossed, a smirk playing on his lips. Going somewhere? He asked, his voice dangerously calm. Lisa's breath hitched. She had always been the predator, but tonight she was the prey. Lisa's mind raced, searching for a way out, but there was none. James blocked the only exit, his presence suffocating. The confidence she once wielded like a weapon was gone. She was powerless. James, listen, I can explain, she started, her voice shaking. He let out a low chuckle, shaking his head. Explain what? How you stole from me? How you planned to disappear while I suffered? His voice was eerily calm, but his eyes burned with restrained fury. Lisa took a cautious step back. I made a mistake, okay? But we can fix this. You loved me once. His face darkened. No, Lisa. I loved the woman I thought you were. But you don't love anyone, not even yourself. Before she could respond, sirens blared in the distance. Red and blue lights flashed through the windows, painting the walls in streaks of judgment. Lisa's breathing turned ragged. This couldn't be happening. She lunged forward, desperation taking over. James, please, we can work something out. I'll pay you back, I swear. But James only smirked. You don't have a penny left to your name. Her stomach twisted. She knew it was true. Daniel had drained her accounts. Her hidden stashes were gone. She was ruined. The front door burst open and uniformed officers stormed in. Lisa barely had time to turn before she felt cold steel snap around her wrists. You're under arrest for multiple counts of fraud and identity theft, an officer announced. You have the right to remain silent. Lisa thrashed, tears streaking down her face. No, please, this is a mistake. I was set up. But no one listened. No one believed her. As she was dragged past James, she saw something in his expression. Not anger, not satisfaction. Pity. That stung more than anything else. The cameras outside captured everything. The infamous con artist, caught at last. The same media that once adored her lavish lifestyle now tore her apart. Lisa was sentenced to 15 years in prison. Her beauty, her charm, none of it mattered anymore. Inside those cold, gray walls, she was just another inmate, forgotten, abandoned. Meanwhile, James rebuilt his life stronger and wiser. He had lost everything once, but he had come back. And Lisa, she had nothing left but time. Karma never forgets.